Welcome in. We are our second to last, penultimate preview video. We're not going to preview week 18. Maybe, I don't know. Probably not, but it's just too difficult. We're into the semifinals of the championship, or for some of you, if you do 2-week championships, this would be the first week of that. Brian, we're already underway. And how was the game, or how are your leagues? I know we're in a championship, a 3-team championship over the next 2 weeks, and we started off pretty strongly with Kamara and Cup only getting 15 points in our league or something combined.
Does Jordan have both those guys? I honestly I didn't even look at it.
He's Kamara and Cooper Cup, and they got 16.4 combined. So I'd say that's a win for us for sure.
Yeah, I like that. Just to give the listeners or viewers, whatever, the update. I had 2 bye weeks out of 2 out of my 3 leagues. So obviously I got in. I was fine last week, and the one where I actually had to play, I lost. I lost to my wife by 6-ish. A touchdown definitely would have got it, and at least she's gonna win some money, hopefully. I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess she already did, but it was a little tough. It was basically like AJ Brown had to outscore DeAndre Swift last week by 3 points. And I told her, I was like, it's going to come down to the touchdown, whoever gets the touchdown, but either one of them did. And you know, what's funny is that there was 3 almost touchdowns for me last week. That 2 of them were James Cook. One of them, he ran down to the 2-yard line, and then 2 plays later, Latavius Murray ran it in. So that one hurt. And then another, I guess James Cook dropped one in the end zone, at the very end of the game. It was kind of garbage time for them. They were just stomping out the Cowboys. So really could have used that one. I can't really complain when the guy gives me 45 points, but it's I kind of needed 50, dude. I'm sorry.
Well, the Lawrence.
Yeah, the Lawrence
Ridley
one, touchdown. That was the third one too. It's because we played 6 point per passing touchdown. It's man, I really needed that. So yeah, a little bit of a bummer. That was the Dynasty League, but whatever. I can't be too greedy. Fucking in the championship almost for 2 out of the 3, so can't complain.
Yeah, it just sucks because you did have the the best. Well, you and another team are clearly the 2 best teams, and it just didn't happen, you know. So we try and take as much as possible, take luck out of it as much as we can. Playing against the median helps that. I think Fab helps that a little bit as well, strategizing with that, and then we like to do, instead of matchups in the playoffs, we like to do all play. Hopefully that solves a little bit of the variance, and 2-week championships also helps, but yeah, it's tough. You can't completely take it out of fantasy football, that's for sure.
But it is what it is. I feel good about how I performed throughout the year, so it's all good. Can't win them all.
Yep. And yeah, good start to the game for most people. Kamara wasn't good. Cooper Kupp wasn't great, but Stafford, Olave. If you happen to start Rashid Shaheed on a dart throw, you got a long touchdown catch. Puka Nacua is awesome. I think, I think there's a good chance he wins Rookie of the Year. I know people were kind of saying Stroud kind of had it locked up, but he's missed now the last 2 weeks. Puka Nacua is going to probably pass. So the record of receiving yards for a rookie is 1470 something. So Cooper Kupp's 150 yards away from that. And that was set in 1960. I always like the records that are this guy in 1960 set I think the most receiving yards in the game is from a guy in the 60s. The most passing yards in the game is from a guy in the 60s. So the most receiving yards for a rookie is a guy for the Houston Oilers. Super Bowl era is Jamar Chase, but yeah, he's going to pass both those guys, and he's going to break Jalen Waddle's record for most catches by a rookie in a season, which is, I think he's 8 away or something with 2 games left. So pretty amazing stuff there. I think he's Rookie of the Year.
Just before we like jump into the games, just real quick, since we're talking about stats, it's funny because I was talking to Dad earlier this week, and we were kind of just talking about like, like he was kind of saying like, oh, like 1,000-yard seasons, but not in 14 games, like that whole debate about like what does 1,000 yards mean now? Like it means it's not as much as what it did 2 years ago when we only had 16 games. But and then I just thought it was funny because he's such a homer for his Lions, which he should be. They're playing well for sure. They look better than they ever have. But it's just funny where he's like, Jahmyr Gibbs is going to get 1,000 yards, and it's just like, weren't you just like talking smack about that like 2 days ago about like a different player? Like, I don't know. I just think it's funny.
Yeah. And that's not even, he might not even get that in a 16 game season. He might need that 17th game, unless did he miss a game? I don't remember, but I don't think he did.
I think he did actually, because I was kind of looking at that because I was going to like start talking smack to him back, and then I just let the old man run his victory lap because he's been in there for a while. So like he's weathered the storm with the Lions, so let him have it, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, we'll jump into the games. First one here is the Bengals Steelers. Bengals are favored by 3. Over under is 38. Mason Rudolph, I believe, is starting this game. I don't know if Kenny Pickett was technically ruled out, but I'm pretty sure Kenny Pickett's not playing. I'll have to double check that as we talk. But Bengals side of things, are you just, no Jamar Chase? Well, let's start with Jake Browning. Like, is he still in that like Flacco, Nick Mullins, Gardner Minshew, Derek Carr range, or can we bump him up to like he's ahead of those guys now? Because I think he's put up 20 plus points in all of his starts, or the last 3 starts.
Yeah, I think you can bump him up because we have seen it. We've seen the consistency. Obviously, like not having Jamar Chase is going to affect the team, even though Chase wasn't necessarily like playing like how he can, with Browning. But he definitely takes coverage off of Higgins. Like he definitely opens things up a little bit just by being there. So I think you got to bump down Browning a little bit for that. But I mean, at this point, if you're in that range, like you're just kind of like feet to the fire, just like go with it, man. I like Browning there over those guys.
Yeah, just slight concern of like, is he gonna have a turn into a pumpkin type of game? But I don't know. Like you said, if you've been starting quarterbacks in this range, you're probably just gonna roll Browning because you have 3 straight weeks again of 20 or more points and 4 point per passing touchdown. It's really good. So I think Higgins, because of no Chase, is basically a top 20 receiver. I think Mixon is kind of always in that like top 15 because he gets enough touches. He's not super efficient, but he gets enough touches. Any argument there, or anyone else you want to start on this team, like a Tyler Boyd with no Chase, or just no interest in Tyler Boyd?
I'd say there's like some interest, like not a ton, obviously. Like we all know what Tyler Boyd is, but I mean he's going to be the wide receiver 2 on the team. They're going to need him, and he's not a terrible player, but he plays with a lot of good guys around him, and he's not, I wouldn't call him a stud by any stretch, but he's definitely serviceable. So I think you can throw him in as like a low end 3 / like flex play, basically. Ideally flex, but desperate times, desperate measures.
Yeah, like a wide receiver 4, essentially.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I don't mind that. I think, and I'm just double checking there. I mean, Tanner Hudson, the tight end, I was just looking. I thought he did a little bit better. He's been consistent in like he's getting you like 6.5 to 7.5 points, but not enough there for me to consider him. So I'm gonna not even really spend much time on him.
Oh, that's the tight end. I was like, who the hell is this guy?
Yeah, the tight end who's
I was
kind of come on.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was thinking of Trenton Irwin because I know he gets a little involved here and there, and it's like, oh, is he like the guy? Like it's like, no, he's not the guy. Like it's fine.
I think Trenton Irwin like might not be a terrible. I think how many games did Chase miss? Did he just miss one game? I know he. I know Trenton Irwin had a big game, and I can't remember if it was Higgins or Chase. It was week 5, 10 targets, 8 catches, 60 yards. That's a big game for him. So I think he is the one. Like Tyler Boyd's not going to play in 2 wide receiver sets. Boyd's always not going to be out there. He's just going to be the slot guy. So Irwin is going to get a bump, I believe. But yeah, you can't rely on him in the playoffs. So we'll just move on. Steelers. I mean, it's Mason Rudolph most likely. I don't even know how much a difference it makes between Rudolph, Trubisky, Pickett. Deontay, like, is he just kind of in that boat of like a wide receiver 3, right in that like McLaurin, Lockett, Thielen, Zay Flowers, Drake London range of probably better in PPR, but in half PPR, just a wide receiver 3?
Yeah, I think so. Like, I don't know. Like, I know sometimes it's easy to like kind of say like, well, like I think about like Godwin even last year, like where it's like, oh, these guys are only good because they get 8 targets a game or 10 targets a game or whatever. But targets are earned. Like Deontay obviously can get separation. So I don't mind like starting guys like that because I don't think it's necessarily like they're not just throwing it to him for no reason kind of a thing, like. So yeah, like I think you're still starting Deontay, like no questions, wide receiver 3.
Yeah, I agree. He's been pretty good lately. Touchdown in 3 straight games is kind of giving you a nice floor. 11 and 11.3, 13.2, 14.2 the last 3 weeks. So I'll live with that in half PPR for sure. So yeah, wide receiver 3. I don't really want to start anyone else in the pass catchers. I know Freiermuth had a big game, and the Bengals are like, I think the best matchup, the second best matchup for tight ends. It's so hard to trust with like, especially with Mason Rudolph. Like, I don't want to do it.
It really sucks because like I'm starting Freiermuth against you in our league because it's kind of like I don't really know if there's much of a better option. I don't like it, especially because I do have Deontay and Warren also, and I'm like, well, I can't start all 3. Like there's no way. So I'm going with Freiermuth and Deontay basically, which could hurt. I know we're going to get into the running backs right now, but yeah, he's not a fun start, but I don't know. Like it just depends on what's out there on your waiver wire.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you're throwing a dart at like a Freiermuth or Tucker Kraft or, Kate Otten, I think Freiermuth's not a bad option because the Bengals are really bad against tight ends. And his one big game came against the Bengals, 9 for 120. And then, yeah, the running backs, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't know. Are you out?
I was going to say, I'm looking at his ranking on Fantasy Pros, and it's like, I kind of agree. What's that?
Go ahead. You're talking about Freiermuth?
Oh, I think. Yeah, I was just going to say, I kind of agree with like all the guys that are in front of him. Like I wish Hunter Henry was available in our league and I would have like picked him up, even though he is questionable. But like, yeah, like maybe I'd start him over Dalton Schultz and that's about it. But basically everyone else, like all the usual suspects are there. And it's like, I'd rather like, he's definitely not really starting material, but I don't know. Got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. And then the running backs, I think they're both kind of bench, like, unless you're super desperate, like RB3s to me. Like, I don't want to start either one. They're not producing. I don't know how this offense is going to move,
Yeah. Like, I think that's kind of the simple answer is like, they're not really producing. They're splitting too much to make it comfortable. It's like I think it's been a long season of like, is Warren going to become the guy? And he hasn't, so it's like I don't know why you're trusting him to become the guy in week 16 necessarily. So I'd say just don't start either one of them and see what happens.
Yeah, I agree. It's just Najee's going to need a touchdown. Warren's going to need to bust off like a 60-yard run. It's not what I want. I just want to get away from it. So, yeah, we'll move on to the Bills Chargers. This is going to be a slaughter, like an absolute slaughter. Holy crap. So there's 3 of us in the championship. I locked all the waivers for all the teams out. Just, I don't think anyone's going to pick anyone up, but just in case. And all 3 of us bid on the Bills defense because we knew they were going to potentially put up a huge number. Start all Bills besides Gabe Davis? Like,
yeah, I think so. Like, yeah. I mean, that's easy. James Cook, Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, even though he hasn't been good, but you don't stop starting him. What? You don't bench him. That's what I mean. And then Dalton Kincaid is like, he's like I'm still starting him, like he still had 2 targets last week. Didn't Josh Allen only throw like 9 passes or something? I think he just had 9 completions last week. Okay. Oh, and 7 completions. So,
yeah.
I mean, that's a decent target share out of 15. Yeah. Like, no. I think you're still starting Dalton Kincaid, though.
Yeah. Unless you have a better pivot option, but I think it's fine. Yeah, it's amazing. Josh Allen, he still got like 20 points in our league because he had a rushing touchdown and a passing touchdown. But yeah, I've never seen a game. I don't know, last time since Josh Allen kind of broke out in, I believe, 2020, I haven't seen a game like this. Like, they didn't need him to win, which is pretty amazing. So Cook's awesome. Diggs, I think this is a kind of a get-right game for Diggs, get their passing game right. So start them all. Chargers, man, it's so sad. Like, a team that we're all so excited for coming into the year. It's like, who do we even start on this team? No one. Keenan Allen's out. Like, Josh Palmer, I don't even want to start Josh Palmer. Like, Eckler.
No, I don't. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough, man. I'd say the offense just it's too tough to trust them. Like, even Eckler, where it's like, obviously, like, he makes his he earns his paycheck in the passing game for sure. So, but it's just kind of like, and I'm sure they're going to have to throw to keep up, but it's gonna, I agree. It's just gonna be a slaughter. Like, it's hard to bench a guy like Austin Eckler. Like, I'd say just, kind of low end running back number 2, which is like just so sad. Like, but it has more to do with the offense. And like I said, like, he hasn't played particularly well, but there's no playoff aspirations for them. Like, they're already out. So it's like, why have him out there?
Yeah.
Necessary. I don't know. Yeah, like, you could definitely make the case to bench him.
Yeah, it's tough. But I mean, just looking at the fantasy pros, like ECR, like, all the guys ahead of him, I'm starting, like Chandler, Montgomery, Jacobs if he's healthy, Achane. It's interesting when you talk about the guys below him: Connor, Singletary, Javonte. Like, where are you at with those 3? I feel like those 3 are kind of a tough one to who do you start between those 3? James Conner, Devin Singletary, Javonte Williams versus Eckler. So we have Connor versus the Bears.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. Probably none of them. Like, maybe James Conner. But I mean, it's just a wild question, isn't it? Like, so you brought up Chandler. Are you starting Chandler over Eckler if Madison's back?
Probably, just because he hasn't practiced all week, and I think they've moved on to. So yeah, he was limited on today's practice. So at Madison, after not practicing Wednesday, Thursday, so I just feel like he's going to be severely limited, and I think it's just they want to give it to Chandler. So even in a bad matchup, I think I'm still starting Chandler.
Okay. Yeah, I just can't believe we're talking about Austin Eckler, like, in this range, Austin Eckler or Devin Singletary. But, yeah, I don't know, man.
It's tough. It really is. I mean, if you made it this far without him, like, congratulations.
Pretty much.
That's a pretty impressive. Because it's not like he was injured and you weren't starting him. You were starting him every week and just getting like duds. I know he had like a 3 or 4 week stretch there where he was good, but yeah, it's tough. I don't want to start anyone else. None of the pass catchers. Yeah, I think we can just move on.
Not this week. Hopefully, one of them kind of emerges. Like, I mean, even if Quentin Johnson has a good game, though, like you're not going to feel good about starting him next week. If Josh Palmer can get more than 4 targets and do something with it, like maybe you start him next week. But we'll get to that when we talk about it next week.
Yeah. Browns Texans is the next one. The over under is 40, and we are looking at the Browns being favored by 3. CJ Stroud, I believe, has been ruled out. Nico Collins, I think, is questionable. A couple of their defensive guys are out for Houston. I'm pretty sure I saw Nico might play. Noah Brown, I think, is going to play. Well, we'll start with the Browns real quick.
Yeah.
So Flacco, again, he's in that Browning. Even Jordan Love, like against Carolina, like I don't know who I want to start. I think Flacco has a way better matchup. Like no one does anything against Carolina, passing wise. So, like, where are you at with Flacco? Would you start him over Jordan Love, Nick Mullins against Detroit, Jake Browning?
Yeah, I'll start Browning over him. Like, yeah, the Jordan Love one, that's tough. It's like, I don't know how much Flacco is going to have to throw this game, but if the last 3 games have taught us anything, it's going to be over 40 times, you know? So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I think Flacco, like, it's a hard one to get away from if you're streaming quarterback. Like he's kind of like what we said about Browning earlier, where it's like if you've been starting him, I think you just roll him out there again, and hopefully it doesn't bite you in the ass.
Yeah, I mentioned it last week. I was talking about I thought Will Levis was a decent play. He did get that rushing touchdown, by the way. He only got 15. He got 15 and a half, 4-point per passing touchdown, which is fine. But if you look at Houston since week 5, only once have they gone under 15 points to a quarterback in 4-point. And then only twice under 17, and that was Levis and Bryce Young, the 2 that are, Bryce Young was under 15, Levis under 17. Everyone else over 17 points, including multiple over 20. So I think it's a really good matchup. I kind of wish Stroud was there to be a shootout, but he's flip a coin, honestly, with like Mullins, Love, Flacco, Browning, Minshew. It's like flip a coin for me. I don't know who's going to be better. So, go with your gut, I guess, and maybe the matchup is the tiebreaker. So
pretty much, yeah. I like that.
The running backs, I do want to avoid, though. I mean, Jerome Ford is kind of the only guy to start, but Houston's really good against the run for whatever reason. I mean, they have a good defense. A couple of their guys are out, but they just can't run the ball at all. Like, I know Ford's going to give you like 3, 4, 5 catches, which is nice, but I just don't know how much he's going to. He's like a desperation RB3 for me.
I'll agree with that.
And what do you do with the receivers? Like Nico, if he's starting, are you just starting him?
Wait a second. We're talking about Brown still.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Amari Cooper, you're starting and no one else.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and Njoku is a smash play. So, I'm just so focused on
those 2 and no one else.
Yeah, so focused on Houston. Going to be starting Case Keenum again. Singletary, I think we like in that RB2-ish range. Like, they went back to him. So I think they're just going to – that's how they're going to – I don't know why they would go back to, like, even anything close to giving Pierce anything. So I think Singletary's good for 15-plus touches and potentially over 20 if they can keep this game close. So tough matchup, but how many guys are going to get 20 carries potentially in the league?
Yeah. No. I think, he's an easy start for sure. Don't start Pierce, obviously. When we were talking about the receivers, like with Nico, like I think he was actually warming up last week, and he was basically like, "Nah, I can't play," kind of a thing. And he's been practicing in a limited capacity all week, so I think there's a pretty good chance that Nico is going to play. And I think at that point, like, you're kind of just starting him as like a number 3 receiver with, obviously, like, we've seen what he can do. Obviously, he won't have Stroud throwing to him, but I think you're still starting them for the ceiling play for sure.
Yeah. Practiced again on Friday. Yeah, it is a little scary trusting him. I think him and Noah Brown are fine. Play like both wide receiver threes. Nico with more upside, but Brown with Case Keenum, 11 targets, 8 catches, 82 yards, and a touchdown. Again, no Nico Collins, but maybe there's something to backup quarterback is good with the backup receivers because they practice together a lot. And now we just saw a connection with them. So I don't mind Brown as well as like a wide receiver 3 or a flex, wide receiver 4 in a 3 wide receiver league. So I think they're both in that range, and they both have some upside. Nico with more, I believe.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting. Like, we totally have like another one of those like Calvin Ridley, Zay Jones situations where it's like Noah Brown's only like really been good when Nico's out, kind of a thing. That's not exactly true, but like there is kind of like that trend. They were basically both good. And Brown was way better back in week 9 against Tampa Bay, but everyone's good against Tampa Bay, the receivers anyway. So yeah, a little scary given the backup quarterback and the defense, but yeah, I don't mind starting Brown as a flex.
And then Schultz, mid-tier tight end. I don't know. It's gonna be tough to. I don't know. It's tough with Nico back. It just kind of muddies the water. Yeah, I mean, if Stroud's there, you have no problem. But Schultz was fine, 4 for 58, so he's in that range of like 4 for 58, 4 for 60 tight ends. So, like, would you start him over Freiermuth?
Yeah, Schultz? Dude, I wish I could start Schultz over Freiermuth. Like, yeah. It's just kind of like, man. And honestly, that's more of a because of like my roster. Like I mentioned with having Deontay on there, like I'd rather diversify a little bit. Like I think they're kind of in that same category, but I would really like Schultz over Freiermuth, but it's like they're basically back to back.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. So yeah. We'll move on unless I forgot something. Just check me there whenever I do. Commanders, Jets. Jets favored by 3, which I don't even know how many times they've been favored this year. I wonder. Over unders 37. This is a tough one because you have like the worst offense. The worst offense going against in the Jets going against the worst defense in the Commanders. And it's like, what do you do? We'll start with the Commanders. I'm a little worried about how, like, does he get benched again? And he's playing the Jets. So I want to, like, I'll start all those guys. We've been the Flaccos, the Brownings, the Minshews. Unfortunately, I'd start them all over Howell this week with the matchup.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy because, like, Bree was asking me kind of about that because she has Howell in our Dynasty League. And she was like, I think I'm going to start Nick Mullins over him. And I was like, really? Like, are you crazy? Like I try not to get too involved with her decisions because I want her to make her own opinion. Like, I'll definitely tell her mine, but like, it's just kind of like, man, like, are we there? Like, I mean, and so I was asking her, like, why did he get benched? Like, it wasn't injury. Like, were they getting just blown out and they were like, all right, let's try something else? Like, I thought that was kind of bad. Yeah.
They couldn't score. Like they were getting blown out, and then Brissett comes in, has 2 drives, and leads 2 touchdowns. And that's why that game was even close.
Right.
It ended up 2020. I think when he got benched, it was 28-7. And it might have been a defensive score. No, he had a touchdown pass. So he just wasn't good. Like, just was not good. And that was against the Rams. The Jets are a whole nother. I don't mind Mullins, and I know we're not talking about the Vikings, but a stat that I heard going into last week was there was 12 weeks of full where Cousins and Jobs both played basically a full game, and 8 of those 12 weeks they were top 12 quarterbacks. So I think Cousins had 5, Dobbs had 3, and then last week Nick Mullins finished as a top 12 quarterback. Like Vikings, their offense just produces, with Jefferson, Addison, Chandler, offensive-minded coach. It's a good coach. Like he just puts them in the best position. So I don't mind. I don't mind that decision. I really don't.
It's so weird to me that Washington benched Howell because he was playing bad. Like they don't have any playoff aspirations. Like it's like, why wouldn't you start him? Because you've been starting him all year. Like, what did he show you last week where it's like, oh no. Like we have to change this right now. It's like he's your he was basically a rookie this year. He only started 1 game last year, and he's played pretty well. And like when it comes to fantasy, he's still quarterback 7. Like I know that doesn't translate into real life all the time, but it's just kind of like, I don't know, man. Like why get away from him? Like as the team.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, and that's why like when people are talking about are they going to bench him this week? There's no point. If this was 5 weeks ago and you want to make the playoffs, sure.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
There's no point now. I think part of it was like they made that comeback. They made the game look a lot closer. I think it was at the point of like fringe garbage time. You're not going to be able to come back. Like you needed 2 quick drives, which is what Brissett did, kind of, right. Except for he got them down there quickly. So that could have been part of it. It was just like, all right, it's not your day. We're going to just take you out type of thing, So that's why they went back to him, and it was kind of no question. I don't know. It's more the matchup than I don't think he will get benched unless he was terrible, but the matchup is just bad. So
yeah, it's true. Like that was kind of the thing that like when me and Bree were talking about it, it's like, oh, he is playing the Jets also. Like, yeah, I really don't mind that call at that point, kind of a thing, Like it's just the Jets are tough, man. Like no one's good against them quarterback wise.
Yeah. So yeah, I think McLaurin's in that wide receiver 3 range. I'm fine with him, like especially if Brissett comes in, but we don't think that's going to happen. That's when McLaurin was really good. Curtis Samuel, he's like not a dart throw necessarily, but he to me, he feels like the type of the receiver that could do well in a game against the Jets because they shut down the outside guys, and Samuel's just kind of like the slot guy, the gadget guy. He could actually have a decent game. So like, I don't mind him over guys like Palmer, Judy, Boyd, in that range. But he's like a wide receiver 4 essentially. And then the running backs, we thought, I kind of mentioned it last week, like is Gibson just going to have the same role? And they were trailing a lot, so he did have his 5 catches, which is he's been doing that like a lot this year. 4 of the last 7 games he's had 5 catches exactly, but only 4 carries. Are you just PPR? You can put Gibson in and no other format?
Yeah, that's probably about right. Flex player kind of thing, maybe even half PPR. Like, I don't know. Like, again, like the matchup's tough. Like Brian Robinson, I don't know if you mentioned like, but yeah, he did actually get ruled out just as of today. So like, he's definitely not playing. So yeah, like I don't want to, and yeah, you totally called it with Gibson kind of playing his same role that he has. And yeah, Chris Rodriguez took the bulk of the carries, but yeah, you can't start him either. Like he didn't do anything with it. So yeah, flex at best.
And the Jets I know they have a really good defense. The run game is kind of their weakness.
Right.
Like they give it the 7th most of running back. So like, I don't hate Gibson, especially if they can get in a more of a better game script, which I don't imagine the Jets are going to be blowing out the Commanders with Tim Boyle? No, Trevor Siemian as the quarterback. So I don't imagine they're blowing out. So he can probably get you might see Gibson with 7-8 carries and 5 catches. and I'm fine with that. So yeah, PPR, I like him as like a flex. If I'm not sad if I have him. I think he can give you 10 points without a touchdown. So, yeah, and then no tight end. Logan Thomas has kind of become irrelevant, I guess. Just looking now,
Yeah.
3 straight games of just nothing, basically. So, bench him. The Jets, it went back to like easy. Garrett Wilson, Brees Hall, and now it's hard again because it's Trevor Siemian. So like, where's Garrett Wilson in all of this? Is he still? I still think he's. I'm probably throwing. The matchup is just juicy. Like Washington's so bad, so bad. What are you thinking with Garrett Wilson?
Yeah, and like I think he's a must start wide receiver too. Like I don't know, like it is a little bit, yeah, like you said, like with Trevor Siemian, like it's definitely like throws a wrench in things a little bit, but yeah, like the Washington secondary is just like absolutely terrible. So I mean, we've said this about him and his running back counterpart in Brees Hall. It's like these guys can make their fantasy week in one play, and they're very talented. And like obviously the situation sucks, but just bank on talent. And I say start both of those guys.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it like quickly. It looks like there's only about 2 weeks, I think, that Washington hasn't given up like a really good game to like the wide receiver on the team. And that was week 1 against Arizona when Josh Dobbs like just came into Arizona, and then New England. We know their situation. That was with Mac Jones. Like every other week, they've given up major points to receivers, and I don't really see any other receiver putting up much points than Garrett Wilson. So even the Giants, Darius Slayton had over 16. So I like Garrett Wilson this week. But it would like it more with Zach Wilson, but that's not going to happen. Brees Hall, man, it just keeps 6 carries, 12 yards, no catches. Like that's a little bit more concerning. Like, are you? So just kind of looking at the ranking. What's that?
I was just gonna say we need to isolate you, saying like I'd rather see Zach Wilson out there, or like
right.
What the hell?
Yeah. Like where would you go? Like Brees Hall or Ezekiel Elliott against Denver?
Yeah, I think I'm still gonna go with Brees Hall.
That's fair. I mean, Washington 6 most points to running backs. So it's another good matchup. It's fair. I don't hate it. Like he's like a top 20 guy, top 15 guy, maybe.
Yeah, I'd say so. Just like matchup and talent wise, like you're starting him, like even in his like shit position that he's been in all year, it's like he's still running back 13, and he's got the matchup, and it's like there's no one else on the team, like it is him. So
it is kind of amazing that he's running back.
Yeah, I don't see how 13. You get away.
Like
yeah.
All those catches. Yeah. So then, that's it. It's always just Brees Hall and Garrett Wilson, and we're okay with starting both of them unless you have, multiple top 10 options or whatever. Seahawks Titans last.
Tyler, I would say Tyler Conklin over Freiermuth.
They're kind of in the same range, right?
Kind of. I'm asking for a friend.
I'd probably go Freiermuth still.
Yeah, I am, but it's just kind of like that's the state that I'm in right now, where I'm like, oh, I guess I could start Tyler Conklin. Like, nah, I can't. Like, I can't.
Yeah. Shoot for upside there, right? Like Freiermuth has more, I would say.
Yeah.
I don't think Conklin has. Yeah, he doesn't have a touchdown this year. I don't even know if Freiermuth has a touchdown this year, to be honest. Yeah. So the last game, the Seahawks Titans. Seahawks are favored by 3.5. 41.5 is the over/under. I should probably check. I don't even know if Gino's going to be playing or not. Like
no, or no. Yeah, I think they said he's going to.
Okay.
Let's see. Full practice yesterday. So yeah, he's playing.
Okay. So Gino, it's not a bad option this week. I'd put him ahead of the Browning, Flacco, Love, Mullins group. Like, I think that's fair. Um, I don't know. Like, do you agree with that? And then, um, yeah, do you agree with that? Ahead of the Mullins, Love, Flacco, Browning, Minshew group.
Yeah. I don't mind that.
What about like Baker, Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, those guys? I think.
Yeah, I'm
make a
starting all
case
those
for
guys. Yeah, I'm starting all those guys in front of Gino.
All right. So yeah, I mean, not a terrible option if he's, him or that group we're talking about. Whenever running back plays is a smash play, in my opinion. Not a smash, but they're going to be a really good play. Kenneth Walker hasn't practiced this week, so keep an eye on. We don't got Friday stuff yet. But if he's in there, I'm playing him. If it's just Charbonnet, I'm playing Charbonnet. I think they're going to both be really good this week. Or, one of them, whoever's the starter is going to be really good this week. So, and it seemed to go head back to Kenneth Walker, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. Walker, if he plays, like, you're starting him. He will be the dude. I think, like, I hope, I guess, pay attention to that Friday practice report because we don't have it yet. But I'm hoping it's just like they're still kind of like easing him back in as far as like practice goes. Like, like he knows the offense and everything like that. So he's not exactly like he's not a seasoned veteran, but I mean, it is his second year. Like, and it's the end of the second year too. So it's like, hopefully they're just resting him to have him nice and ready for game time.
Yeah, hopefully. But if you have Charbonnet and he's out, start Charbonnet. Metcalf's an obvious start this week. Titans are a good matchup, and you know what Metcalf's capable of. And I think Lockett and both Lockett and JSN are like wide receiver threes here. Any opinion on those two guys? JSN had a better game last week with the touchdown catch, but they kind of go back and forth a little bit.
Yeah, I think just basically like flex option guys, more or less. Like I still like Lockett over JSN.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And I think Drew Lock and JSN kind of had a little bit of a connection. Again, maybe backup receiver, backup quarterback. So I don't mind Lockett over JSN. So Seahawks are actually pretty easy. Don't want to start any tight end there. Titans with Tannehill, I assume. It makes me worried about Hopkins a little bit, but in 3 wide receiver leagues, I still can't get away from him. Like, just his potential, like he's still a start. Henry, maybe some of the worst stat lines you'll ever see. What was it? 19 touches and 9 yards or something, or whatever it came out to. It was horrendous, right? It was
20 total. So 16 rushes for 16 and 4 catches for 1 yard. So yeah, 20 touches for 10 yards.
God. And wasn't even really his, like, he was just getting smashed in the backfield. Like, and yeah, it's funny because we have someone who missed the championship, moving on to the championship. If Henry would have had like 25 yards rushing, he would have made it. Like, you would assume he would get that, but I don't know. I'm crazy. Maybe I'm crazy. I'm still starting Derrick Henry.
Yeah, you're still starting him. I think I don't want to like make this go way longer than it needs to, but where do you think Derrick Henry gets drafted next year in redraft? I mean, he's still running back 9, but it's like I don't know, man. Like, it's like he's not going. I don't know. Like, is he like going into the 3rd round?
I think he's probably going further.
Yeah, I was gonna say he was kind of at the beginning of the 3rd round this year, and he's obviously outproduced that. But it's like, I don't know. I don't know. Is he going in round 4? Is he going in 5? I don't know.
Man, I don't know either. A lot's going to depend on where he goes, because I think they move on from him after this year. I think they can, or he's in his contract year. I don't remember, but yeah, I think a lot of it's going to depend on, like, what if he went to like
Atlanta.
or the Cowboys and Tony Pollard
Yeah.
somewhere else. Like, what if they just signed him? Like, I
Or
think we'd be pretty excited.
honestly, if he went to the Cowboys and Tony Pollard stayed and he like kind of went back to what he did with like if they basically like they revert to last year where Derrick Henry's Ezekiel Elliott essentially, like that could actually be really good for both of Pollard and him. They could just like have like a really serious run game.
What if he went to the Eagles? I mean, DeAndre Swift's a free agent. Like, what if he goes to the Ravens, which he was rumored to be traded there? So I think there's some options where it can bump him back up into like a top. I think he's as of right now, not knowing where he's going. I think he's maybe even out of like the top 5 rounds. Maybe that's crazy. But I'd be worried about drafting him for sure. He's going to be 30 in a few days, January 4th. So
yeah. Well, we'll talk about it more in the offseason. Sorry, I'm just checking my phone because I got some updates, but nothing relevant to what we're talking about right now.
Yeah. So no one else on the Titans. It's Henry and Hopkins, and maybe Chig. Like he's in that again 4 for 50, 4 for 60. You hope you get like range. So nothing exciting there. I think that's it, right?
Yeah, that's it. Freiermuth over Chig. Like Freiermuth is like the stick for tight end this year or this week rather.
Yeah, no, he is. He is for sure. But yeah, we'll finish up there. We'll be back with 5 more games. As always, like and subscribe. We'll catch you guys next time.